I said in a previous video that I would delve further into the issues of equitable distribution and alimony later on, so today I'm going to focus on equitable distribution. Now remember, equitable distribution is the claim used to ask a court to distribute assets and debts between parties who are going through a separation and divorce. In North Carolina, there are really three things you need to know about equitable distribution: how property is identified, how it's classified, and how it's distributed. So let's start with the identification of property. What items are considered property and how are they identified? Well, property for the purposes of equitable distribution is anything with a positive or a negative value. So we're not just talking about tangible property like the home, land, cars, personal belongings. We're also talking about intangible property like bank accounts, investment accounts, and retirement accounts. Because it includes anything that has a positive or a negative value, debts are also included. So any outstanding bills, credit card debts, or loans will be included as property for the purposes of equitable distribution. Now, what are we talking about when we say the classification of property? Well, property is classified into three categories: separate property, marital property, and divisible property. Separate property is generally any item of property that was acquired by either party prior to the marriage. Marital property is generally any item of property that was acquired by the parties during the course of the marriage. And divisible property gets into the active or passive increases and decreases in certain items of separate and marital property. Now, why are these classifications important? Well, only two types of property can be distributed by the court: marital property and divisible property. Now, how does that distribution take place? Well, in North Carolina, equal is presumed to be equitable, which basically means that an equal distribution of property is presumed to be fair. So, do we take every item of property, split it in half to distribute it between the parties? No. We value the marital estate. So that means that we take all the assets and all the debts and put it all into a pot, and we come up with a net value of the marital estate. And then we distribute the net value between the parties. So for instance, if the marital estate has a net value of $100,000, then if there is an equal distribution, both parties should walk away with $50,000 in value. So remember, when we start talking about equitable distribution in North Carolina, what we're really talking about is the identification of property, the classification of property, and the distribution of that property between the parties.